The teller. The teller. The teller.
It's another day. Left jab, right jab. This is MMA. Mixed martial arts, quick body parts. Undefeated when I pick 'em. Who the champ, who the victim? Looking in my crystal ball, I predict the winner. Never stop fighting. If you lose, keep your chin up. Know how the game go. I'm a smart fella. Welcome to the show. This the MMA fortune teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller. The teller. The teller.
What is up, guys? We got Frankie Edgar versus Pedro Munhoz coming up this weekend. Another card. I've already been kind of seeing it. I know some of you guys aren't that crazy about the overall fight card, but you know, as Dana White says to you guys, when you guys complain about the cards, go kick rocks. If you don't like it, don't watch it. You know, my perspective on the whole situation is, I'll take a weak fight card like this over no fights. You know what I mean? Rather than them just skipping the week and waiting for bigger name fights. So, and there's still some exciting fights in this card. Don't get it twisted. You know, we're gonna get into each and every single one of these fights here, and you guys know the deal. I mean, we'll scan over them real quick. I mean, we got OSP versus Alonzo Menifield in the co-main event spot. Other than that, you know, we'll look into each and every one of these fights. We'll break them down. And we got to take a look back at last weekend. You guys know the deal. DC versus Stipe Miocic. The epic trilogy has came to an end, and we now know who the better fighter is. Stipe Miocic. I tried to tell you guys from the get-go. Hopefully you guys cashed it on Stipe. I know I did. That was one of my 4 plays on the night. I felt very good that Stipe was going to prevail in this fight. Of course, DC's a legend, and it was no walk in the park, of course. But I thought there were some key things that were leaning towards the trilogy, towards a victory for Stipe in the trilogy, and that's what happened. We'll start from the bottom, work our way up. We'll make it quick for you guys. Kai Kamaka, you know, pretty much just, you know, snuck out a decision over Tony Kelly. Tony Kelly was hurting him on the feet, couldn't stuff the takedown. Chris Dawkins, I was on him when he was an underdog. I picked him here, you know, in my prediction video last week. I told you the value is probably on him, if anything, but Parker Porter did have some power in his hands. And I still think Parker Porter does have some big power. He can knock some dudes out, but he needs to come in more in shape. That dude needs to be a little bit more professional. You know, Souza versus Ashley Yoder. A lot of people thought Souza was the most confident pick of the card. I heard everyone talking about that. Even though she won, I still feel like I would have never touched her there. I didn't like her in that spot, and I thought the fight played out closer than what it says here. You know, unanimous decision. I thought the fight actually was decently closer. I'm not a big fan of Souza's. I don't think that she's that talented of a fighter in the strawweight division. Danny Chavez took out TJ Brown. I told you guys there was some potential value on Danny Chavez. I ended up going with TJ Brown in the pick overall because I ended up being worried that Danny Chavez wouldn't have been able to stuff the takedown. I saw an interview with him talking about how he wasn't able to train his wrestling and whatnot with the whole COVID situation. That scared me away from picking him, and that also scared me away from actually placing in one of my official bets on Danny Chavez. I was this close to doing it. I hesitated when I saw that interview, and he had no problem with his takedown defense at all. He actually was the stronger man in the clinch and in the grappling exchanges. And I told you guys he would have the edge in the feet, as we all saw. Shout out to TJ Brown, though. He was a tough dude. He came through in the 3rd round and won that round. But Danny Chavez is the guy that you want to keep an eye on. Verna Jandiroba looked excellent. Got the quick submission armbar. I think everybody was on Verna there. Vince Pichel over Jim Miller. I had Vince Pichel. Threw a little bit of money on him for some fun. Not an official play. No big money on him, but some money. You know, went a little bit over there on Vince Pichel. It played out exactly like I said it would. Jim Miller had to pull off that sub early or do something, you know, pretty good early. Otherwise, I thought Vince Pichel was going to wear on him and be the fresher fighter. Even though they're right around the same age, Vince Pichel has less mileage on him. He comes in a little bit more fit these days and has better cardio, in my opinion. Merab Davashvili came through, the biggest play of the night, 6-unit play on Merab. I grabbed him early too, just right around minus 200. And I was very big on Merab. And a lot of people were doubting me too, man. A lot of people were saying, oh, are you sure, man? All my customers that I work with, they're like, oh, everyone's on John Dodson. And a lot of people were picking John Dodson to win that fight. And I didn't see it. I thought with the small cage, Mariya being the bigger fighter, the pressure fighter, I felt very comfortable in the spot there. And luckily things are starting to play out like they should. Obviously the fight game's crazy. We've seen some crazy things, but that's what's supposed to happen in that spot there. And the teller's supposed to cash in a nice big bet. Things are starting to come around. And the next fight, Daniel Pineda versus Herbert Burns. If you guys were following me, or if you guys were joined on the Fight Companion, go run the tape back. What I said right before that fight started. I had to pause the show. I said I want to let everybody know something about this fight right before it started, before they even came out. Daniel Pineda, man, the more I looked into what was going on with him recently, he did fail that drug test, but he just, in his last outing, he won 2 fights in one night against two tough opponents, Jeremy Kennedy, ex-UFC fighter, ex-UFC top prospect, and then this other Russian guy that's actually a very talented fighter that has some big wins, and won both those fights in the same night. It looked very impressive on both of them. The only problem is that he had that failed drug test. It was a little weird. A little bit of a weird situation, but I would never have touched that fight ever. I thought about it for a second, or I wouldn't even say I thought about it. I looked into it, potentially parlaying Herbert Burns, and then once I saw all the factors there, I was like, stay far away. And we actually threw a little bit of sprinkles. Shout out to Billy Brisbane. We said, let's throw some sprinkles on Daniel Pineda. I forgot who all went in with me on Daniel Pineda. A lot of people on the panel. Why not? With the odds we were getting him at, we threw some money and we cashed in on that. That's what the Fight Companion's about, man. You guys can join us and we can talk about these fights as they're happening, man, and make some money live with us. Jairzinho Rosenstruck, that was another big play of mine. Jairzinho Rosenstruck, I had him over Junior Dos Santos, grabbed him at great odds. Almost was a pick 'em. A lot of people started throwing money on JDS. I kept saying it, man. I saw what people were talking about in regards to JDS potentially winning the fight, but Jairzinho, in my opinion, is the real deal, and my gut told me he was going to sleep JDS, so I put my money up on him. And the next fight, you guys know what's up, man. This was a wild one. Marlon Vera versus Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley messes his ankle up by himself. I saw this, and again, I love how we had the Fight Companion that records all this, because I saw this before anyone saw it. As soon as Sean O'Malley did his little trip, I saw it happen. I saw him doing his little footwork, and I started flipping out because I knew immediately he wasn't putting pressure on that foot. I said the fight's over. I said the fight was over as soon as he did that little stutter step, and everybody was like, nah, he's good, because he was looking good out there. But I called it, and that was it, man. Once his leg was out, done. That was a wrap, man. Marlon Vera was going to have his way with him. I think Sean O'Malley did a smart thing by just kind of folding in there, because otherwise he was just going to get his ass beat. If they didn't stop the fight in between rounds because of his ankle. Stipe Miocic capped off the night for me. Another victory on the night. Stipe Miocic took out Daniel Cormier. I've been talking about that fight all week, so you guys know how I felt about it, man. Miocic, usually the fighter that wins the second fight tends to win the trilogy, but it was a lot more than that for me. Miocic, the more younger, fresher fighter, the real natural heavyweight. We saw what happened when the fight plays out, who takes over that fight, who has the better cardio, who's actually stronger in the clinch, who's the better wrestler. I mean, I don't know if he's the better wrestler, but combined with his size, his strength, and his the shape that he comes in at, he was the better wrestler than Cormier, or at least a stronger guy in the clinch and whatnot. Don't sleep on Stipe, in my opinion, the greatest heavyweight of all time, and in the opinion of many at this point, the baddest man on the planet. I want to see him versus John Jones next. I want to see him whoop John Jones up. I see a lot of people saying John Jones wins that fight. I disagree. I think Stipe wins that fight. If you think what Dominic Reyes just did to John Jones was bad, which most people think Reyes beat John Jones, I think Stipe Miocic whoops up Jones worse. So don't get me wrong, Jones is a tough outing, one of the best fighters to ever do it, but I think Stipe's hands are nasty. I think he's going to land on John Jones. He's going to hurt John Jones. John Jones has not been looking that good as of recently. I think Stipe Miocic has proved that John Jones ain't going out there and just taking him down, man. He's strong. He's going to be the bigger man, and I'll take Stipe in that spot all day. I would love to see what line we can get that at, and I'm sure actually we'll be seeing that relatively soon. Actually, take a quick little peek. They threw that up here yet. Yeah, nothing yet. They might throw some future odds out. We'll see what that opens up at. Here is the odds for this weekend, and we're gonna start dissecting these fights here, man. So that wraps up UFC 252. And then now we got UFC Fight Night. Pedro Munhoz taking on Frankie Edgar. And the first fight of the card. It's actually an interesting fight here, man, in the bantamweight division. Get this guy, Mark Striegl, taking on Timur Valiev. Of course, Timur was just supposed to fight not too long ago. Wasn't able to make it to the fight, but they rescheduled him here. And people are high on this guy, Timur. Look at him. He's coming in again as a heavy favorite once again. In his last fight, he was a heavy favorite. He was supposed to be taking on, what was his name? Jamal Emmers. Jamal Emmers looked amazing in that fight too. And that fight got canceled. Now they rebooked him here. And again, he was a big favorite against Jamal Emmers. He's a big favorite here. He's been doing his thing for quite a while. His only loss since his first loss ever, which that was over 10 years ago. So let's not even look into that really. That's ridiculous. Fighters change so much. It was a split decision loss to Chris Gutierrez. Chris Gutierrez is on fire right now. Looking to be very talented fighter. He also redeemed himself against Chris Gutierrez in the rematch. This guy is very well rounded. He has power. He can knock you out. He can submit you. He's strong in the clinch, strong with his grappling. Now his opponent, if you guys don't know about his opponent here, this guy Mark, this guy's an Olympic caliber type of fighter. This guy is a gold medalist in these Asian Sambo tournaments. So you know that's a solid thing, man, to have behind you. You know, he's fought over in one championship. And, you know, this guy should be able to hold his own in regards to the grappling. I mean, when you have credentials like that, and the guy is obviously very, very physically fit. Take a look. This is Timur and Chris Gutierrez. Those guys, they went to battle twice. But, you know, this guy, Mark, is very physically fit. The Filipino fighter, 32 years old. He's in the prime of his career. You know, his dream was to fight in the UFC. Now he's here. This is a big moment for him. And he's coming in as a big, big underdog. You know, he's been a little 4-fight win streak here. Had a no contest in his last fight. You know, as far as the level of competition, not the best. I mean, some of these guys have decent records if you dissect them. You know, but he's continuously winning fights. And but people are high on Timur, and I get it. When you watch Timur on tape, man, he's just a solid fighter. I expect Timur to go out there and handle business and probably win this fight. But as far as, you know, maybe if you want to poke at a dog, you're talking about plus 400 on a guy that's a capable fighter. I'm rooting for the guy, but I don't think he takes out Timur. I think Timur is the real deal. I think the line is very high in him for a reason. People are seeing what he brings to the table. So Timur is probably the route to go, maybe in a parlay, or just maybe stay away from this fight and just see how it plays out. All right. The next fight, we got Matthew Semelsberger taking on Carlton Munhoz. This guy Carlton is pretty much one of the top prospects fighting out of Alaska. 10-1 with his lone loss coming against Rick Story. Rick Story is a very solid ex-UFC fighter, very strong grappler. He was able to pull off the rear naked choke on him. Other than that, though, man, this guy's been going out there handling business over there in Alaska. Like I said, one of the top fighters in Alaska. Very well-rounded fighter, man. He's been knocking people out left and right. He's rangy, you know, has a nice reach on him. And he's a big dude, you know, 5'10", maybe not the tallest, but he's rangy. Like I said, he has a long frame. And take a look at him here against Rick Story. Doesn't look like the most physically imposing guy, but when you watch him on tape, he's actually a pretty decent fighter. This guy Matt, he I guess you see here, man, he's been wrestling since he was a young buck, and you watch the tape on him, not overly impressed, and he has some questionable losses on his resume too. Some major questionable fights here on his resume. 2 losses coming by way of fighters that you should not be losing to, man. Getting Darce choked by Darren Costa and this guy Jerome Featherstone. These guys are like 2-1 and 6-5 or something like that. You could run it back and look, but these guys are not on the level. So those are questionable losses. And then you look at the guys that he's going out there and taking, just knock this guy Richard out, 8-6. I mean, very, very low level of opponents. So, you know, at least on the other hand, you know, with Carlton, he's gone out there, he's proven himself. You know, he's went out there and he's taken out solid fighters, man. Take a look at Justin Buchholz. Justin Buchholz is a very solid fighter. You know, a coach over there at Team Alpha Male. And you know, if I had to say how this fight goes, I think that most likely, I think that Carlton could probably avoid the wrestling. You know, he won't get smothered too much. I think he could use his striking to win this fight. Probably most likely. That's the most likely scenario. But again, you know, we're talking about You know, we're talking about fighters. There's not a lot of fight footage on them, not a lot of tape. This kind of reminds me of almost a Dana White's Contender Series fight. So, see, Carlton's right around minus 150. You might want to be careful with that. Take a look at Matthew over here. Very fit, physically fit dude. Has some wrestling, a wrestling background behind him. Could he smother Carlton? Maybe. I don't know. All right. Slide over to the next one. Jorge Gonzalez taking on Ike Villanueva. You guys remember Ike had a pretty tough outing in his last fight against Chase Sherman. Got pieced up by Chase, made Chase Sherman all of a sudden look like a beast out there. Jorge Gonzalez likes to go by George Saint, making his UFC debut. The Mexican fighter. This guy's pretty tough. Coming off a nice solid rear naked choke victory against Marcos Rodriguez. This guy is a well-rounded fighter. He can knock you out. He could choke you out. Dude's a tough dude. He's won, 7 of his last 8 fights. You know, not the biggest of names. You know, like I said, these guys, a lot of these guys in the early part of this card, man, are just, you know, trying to come in and make a name for themselves, making their debuts and whatnot. Does have a victory over Luke Barnett. You guys remember Luke Barnett from The Ultimate Fighter, crafty English guy whose career really went downhill. But you know, that's a notable name that he's taken out. You know, on the other hand, we take a look at his opponent, Ike Villanueva. See, it's going to be hard for me to touch Ike Villanueva here or to pick him. Just, you know, the way he looked in that Chase Sherman fight, that was a tough outing for him. And I'm not going to pick him. I'm going to pick the Mexican fighter Gonzalez. I think this guy has more potential to actually be, you know, a formidable UFC fighter. You know, let's see if he gets a victory here and what he could do moving forward. And I got him to win this fight. Take a look at the odds. Yeah, it's a pick 'em. I like Gonzalez there. There's Gonzalez getting ready. And you know the Mexicans are tough fighters, man. These guys are tough dudes. So they all seem to be tough. I'll go with him. All right. Bear with me, guys. We're gonna get to some of these other fights where the names are a little bit more recognizable for you guys, a little bit more higher caliber type of fights for you guys. But here we got Dwight Grant taking on Jared Gooden. Jared Gooden making his UFC debut. This is a guy that a lot of people have been waiting to see in the octagon. He's 17-4, taking on Dwight Grant, a very crafty, smooth fighter, man. Very unorthodox type of fighter. He's smooth on the feet. He switches stances. He's awkward, unorthodox. Like I said, he can hit you from some awkward angles. I like Dwight Grant. I think he's a solid fighter. Training at an AKA, you know, coming off 2 solid victories against Alan Jouban and Carlo Pedersoli. Was a big underdog against Carlo Pedersoli and really showed up. Maybe not a big underdog, but he was an underdog there. Coming in, he was, if I remember correctly, like plus 150, 140 or something like that. And caught him coming in with this weird unorthodox, like a step-in hook. And, you know, besides the Zach Otto split decision loss, you know, he's really been putting it together. Jared Gooden, like I said, this is a guy, take a look over here. This was the Pedersoli fight versus Grant. But no, this guy, Jared Gooden, like I said, a lot of people have been waiting to see this guy come in, fighting out of Atlanta. And from what I see from this guy, man, on the feet, he's very slow, man. He's a very physically imposing looking guy. He's very muscular. He's strong. He definitely has power in his hands. But he's slow, man. You run the tape back on him. Even when he's knocking dudes out, it's like it's almost in slow motion. He's dropping them and he's getting on top of them. And I was not overly impressed from what I saw from him on tape. I know he's 17-4. Can you guys tell me any of these names over here that he's taken out? Talking about Will Santiago was on the Dana White's Contender Series, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he lost to Kevin Holland. Tough dude, but still, I mean, look, three fight losing streak. He actually lost twice on Dana White's Contender Series. But the point being, I don't really see any notable names here, and I've looked through the resumes. I mean, Trent McCown, 8-5. That was his most recent victory over at Titan FC. Not to throw shade at these guys, but you know, Dwight Grant, on the other hand, has been locked in there with some solid opponents. You know, Alan Jouban's no joke on the feet. Carlo Pedersoli's no joke on the feet. And I like Dwight Grant here. Dwight Grant also has underrated grappling as well. He's not a guy that you can just take down and control easily, man. He's very, very tricky as far as getting him down. So I like him to win that fight. All right, we got Austin Hubbard taking on Joe Solecki. Now, this is an interesting fight, if you ask me. Austin Hubbard, coming off a very, very big win, taking out that guy Max Ropskov, who was one of the top prospects, a very high caliber wrestler, a guy that's a very high caliber jiu-jitsu player as well, man. He's constantly out there in the jiu-jitsu tournaments. He had a lot of hype behind him. Hubbard shut that down. He did get taken down early in that fight, but he was very composed. Ended up taking his time in there, and then just he started to put it on Max in that second round. Austin Hubbard has great cardio, training at an excellent camp over there in Denver, Colorado. And if he's able to pull off this victory here against Joe Solecki, you're talking about taking out two of the top prospects in the division. And I think that then at that point, you really steal a lot of the thunder from these other guys. Because right now, I'm not ready to fully jump on the Austin Hubbard train. I know that was a big win for him, but I'm not fully convinced as of right now. If he goes out there and takes out Joe Solecki, then yes, I am convinced that this guy's he's more real than what I thought. You take a look here. That's him putting it on Max. That was in the second round, and he was just... I'll tell you what, though, man. Max, with his head movement and the way he was sitting there, I think a lot of other guys would have knocked him out and finished him in the second round, He had no head movement. He was just sitting there, and he was there for the taking, and Hubbard didn't even really finish him in the way he should have. So, could look at that two different ways. Joe Solecki came from Dana White's Contender Series. Nowadays, it's just, everyone's coming from the Dana White's Contender Series show. It's crazy. I'm very high on this guy. I've made money on him before. Had some money on him for that Dana White's Contender Series fight. This guy is legit. Very, very high-level grappler. Very high-level grappler. I'm high on him there. But I think it's more than that at this point. I think this guy has power in his hands, too. I think this guy has potential to be a legit fighter in the division. So, obviously, he has to prove it. You know what I mean? He has to keep going out there and pulling off victories. He's only 9-2. But I think this guy has a lot of potential. And this is a big test for him, man. This is a big test against Austin Hubbard. Coming off a victory against Matt Wyman, a UFC veteran, a tough dude. He's in a 4-fight win streak now. And Austin Hubbard is obviously no joke. I'm not going to downplay what Austin Hubbard brings to the table, man. He's the type of guy that could eventually, he could stuff those takedowns or keep it standing, get back up to his feet, and we'll see who has the better striking. I don't know if Austin Hubbard's the type of guy that's just going to be held down and controlled for 3 rounds or to be submitted by Solecki. Solecki likes to submit guys as well. But I'm on Solecki here. I like Solecki. But Austin Hubbard has been looking good. This is a big fight. Let's see how it plays out. All right. Got some girls throwing down in the strawweight division. Mizuki Inoue versus Amanda Lemos. Amanda coming in as a little bit of the bigger woman, an inch height advantage, an inch reach advantage. Mizuki, who's actually been looking pretty good here. Surprisingly, she's been doing her thing over here. Only 25 years old, coming off 2 victories. Took out Viviane Pereira. Did have a split decision loss against Verna Jandiroba. We just saw how good Verna is in her last fight. Verna's really putting it together. She's a threat to the division. And that was a very closely contested match. And then Amanda Lemos, a girl that, coming off a solid victory against Miranda Granger. You guys, have you taken a look at that line? Miranda, real quick, we'll touch upon that. I mean, people are high on Miranda Granger after Miranda took out Hannah Goldie. She was a heavy favorite going into that Nadia Kassem fight. That bout has since been canceled, but still, the line was ridiculous. So it shows you how high people are on her. And she looked very good in that Hannah Goldie fight. She really did. And Amanda Lemos went out there and she rear naked choked her. So Amanda Lemos is legit too, Both of these girls have a lot of potential. I've been torn on this fight. I've really been torn on this fight. You see Amanda Lemos here. I think she has the potential to take this fight. Maybe the value is on her as far as betting goes. Mizuka, she's coming in right around, settling around minus 165 right now. And I'm going to pick Mizuki to win the fight. I feel like she might be a little bit more polished in there with her overall game. So I maybe give her a slight edge, overall with her MMA game. But this is a fight that can play out so closely. The value is probably on Lemos if she shows up, and could be a closely contested match. But Mizuki is she's a well-rounded chick, man. That's really starting to make a name for herself. Let's see if she could string off another victory, make that 3 wins in a row. Stay tuned. Let's see how that goes. Another Japanese fighter here, Takashi Sato, taking on Daniel Rodriguez, D-Rod. And D-Rod has been looking decent recently, huh? D-Rod had a big victory against Tim Means. Tim Means since bounced back with that nice little victory the other week. And then he also took out Gabe Green. I believe Gabe Green might have took that fight on short notice. Lower level type of fighter. Was scheduled against Kevin Holland as well. That fight got canceled. And now he's taking on Takashi Sato. Takashi Sato, tough Japanese fighter. We've seen him deliver before. You know, he has a solid resume there, 16-3. We've seen him go in there and knock out Ben Saunders. I saw that fight live. Little clip of it there. I mean, he has decent stand-up. He's a well-rounded fighter. Tricky southpaw. Carries a little bit of power. But I'm not super overly impressed with Takashi these days. I'm not overly impressed with him. Daniel Rodriguez, in my opinion, has more potential to really start making a name for himself, and you know, he's a solid fighter. He actually kind of reminds me of the guy that's going to be on MMA Live Discussion this upcoming Thursday. Stay tuned, I'll announce that very soon. And you know, there's some tough guys, man, coming through the ranks these days, and I think Rodriguez is one of them. And I like Rodriguez here. Daniel Rodriguez right around -170, -175. I think that's reasonable. I think that's probably where the line should be. So yeah, I'm gonna take Daniel Rodriguez. You know, maybe Sato can work the stand up and do something there, but I don't see it. I give the edge to Rodriguez wherever this fight goes. Maybe Sato will be a little bit more polished in regards to. Actually, no, I wouldn't even say so. I wouldn't. You know, I was gonna say, you know, he's been in there with some big names as of recently, but you know what? Rodriguez just was in there with Tim Means. He was not overwhelmed in that situation either. You know, he showed up, got the guillotine. Tim Means is a crafty veteran. I don't think that changes here either. You know, Daniel Rodriguez is not the type of guy that's going to be starstruck. He's out there to throw down. He don't care about, you know, who you've been locked up in there with. And Sato, really, not that many big name fights. The Ben Saunders fight, the Belio Muhammad fight, really, that's it. So, yeah, I'm on Rodriguez here all day. I like Rodriguez here. But, you know, Sato's a tough customer too, not to downplay him. All right, this one's crazy. You guys saw the line in this fight. The flyweight matchup of Mariya Agapova taking on Shana Dobson. She's I know it says -850 here, but really she's settling in right around a -1000 right now, which is crazy. Yeah, -1000. I mean, up as high as -1200 on Bet Online. Crazy, man. And you know, I get it. I mean, I get it. This girl has a big frame. She's ferocious in there, and she's coming off a very big victory over Hannah Cyphers. She went in there and just whooped up Hannah Cyphers. She was ferocious in there. Got the early victory. She's done a 3-fight win streak. She lost to Tracy Cortez on the Contender Series, if you guys remember that. That's where I was high on Tracy Cortez since then. I said that, you know, Tracy Cortez. I think she since lost her UFC debut though. Oh no, she didn't. She won that fight against Vanessa Mello. Okay. Yeah. That was a tough opponent for Mariya here. So as you see, Tracy Cortez is no joke. And she bounced back with 3 victories in a row. Shana Dobson, man, this girl Shana Dobson has a losing record, man. 3-4 as a professional. You guys know she came from the Ultimate Fighter show, and you know, losing to girls like Sabina Mazo, who's tough, Lauren Mueller, Priscilla Cachoeira, losing in the first round by an uppercut. You kind of understand where that -1000 is coming from. But what are you gonna do with that? You're gonna parlay that? You're gonna throw that in a parlay? What are you gonna win on that? You know, and now I'd like to say, you know, sometimes these women bouts, you know, they play out close, so you got to be careful. I don't even see that being the case here, man. You see Agapova. This is Valerie Laredo. If you guys didn't see that Valerie's knockout in Bellator, which I'm sure all you guys already saw, make sure you go check that out. Check out the whole clip, man. Even after the knockout, everything, the post-fight interview, all that. She's a wild chick there, man. And and she's actually skilled too. So yeah, man, this should be another big victory for her here. And I want to see her get matched up against some bigger names moving forward. Shana Dobson. Yeah, man, I don't know. I think this might be the last we see of Shana Dobson in the UFC. I don't know. How much longer does she hang around? That would be, yeah, 4 fights that she lost in a row, and I think that will be the end of Shana Dobson. So shout out to Shana Dobson for being around the way. You know, for all the fights that she's put on for us and what she brought to the table, because I think we won't be seeing any more of her. All right. All right, we got Mike Rodriguez taking on Marcin Prachnio. Now, this one's an interesting fight here. The co-main event. And, you know, this is the type of fight that could be the first fight of the night on some of these cards that we've had recently, right? Like the card we just previously had, but it is what it is. Mike Rodriguez goes by the nickname of Slow. That's not always a good thing. But he has an amazing reach, 82.5-inch reach. He's a big boy. You know, we saw him on the Dana White's Contender Series show. Where he looked good there, got himself a contract with that flying knee against Jamal Jones. Since then, he lost to Devin Clark, coming off a loss to Da Ong Jong. That's not a good look. Got finished in that fight. You know, the John Alon fight. It's been a tough road for him really since getting the contract. He did take out Adam Milstead. Adam Milstead since retired after that fight. Adam Milstead was a tough customer. But that's pretty much all we've seen from him. His opponent, Marcin Prachnio, I think it's even worse, man. Marcin Prachnio is coming off 2 losses in a row. Magomed Ankalaev, you know, one of the best fighters in the division. But the Sam Alvey knockout, I saw that live. And you shouldn't be going out there getting knocked out to Sam Alvey, man. You already know what it is. He's going to sit there and try to counterpunch you with the hook. All you have to do is throw leg kicks and just sit on the outside, and you win an easy decision. And he made the mistake that, you know, he went in and fell right into that trap. So, you know, maybe he's not fully seeing everything out there, you know, and he might get caught by Mike Rodriguez. Mike Rodriguez has some real power too. So I'm on Mike Rodriguez here. As far as the line goes, where is this line? They're hiding it from us. Here it is. Minus 235. I don't know about that. I don't think either of these fighters are trustworthy. So, you know, I really don't feel too comfortable touching Rodriguez here. Maybe there's more value on Prachnio, to be honest with you. I mean, that's probably more the realistic analogy. I mean, look at this guy. Look at the power he carries in his elbow over here. You know, believe in yourself and you are stronger than you think. So, you know, you got to be careful over here because this guy, you know, he might believe in himself and show up and he might look like this upcoming Saturday. But, you know, in all seriousness, the value probably really is on him, man. If he shows up, I could easily see him taking out Mike Rodriguez. So, but it's kind of a weird fight there, right at the co-main event spot. But it is what it is, and I got to edge Mike Rodriguez to win the fight. Yeah, I woke up extra early, man, to get these fights out to you, man, early Monday morning, man. So. Don't mind me if you see a little crust in my eyeballs or if I'm a little slow at the breakdowns. But, you know, this card wasn't the biggest of cards. I do feel like there's some spots to make money, though. I definitely do. But I know not everyone's going to be as excited for this fight card. In the co-main event spot, we got Ovince and Preux taking on Alonzo Menifield. Alonzo Menifield coming off a very disappointing fight where he got knocked out. No, he lost the decision. Excuse me. He lost to Devin Clark in a fight where, you know, the fight finally went past the first round. You know, before that, I mean, this guy, first round. The furthest he's ever made it to was the second round. All victories for him, all finishes. And I said it, man. If you guys run the tape back against Devin Clark, I said Devin Clark could give him some trouble because if he doesn't knock Devin Clark out, Devin Clark has that wrestling background, and Devin Clark's he's gonna be in your face, and he could wear on you, and he could tire you out. And that's exactly what happened in that fight. And Ovince St. Preux could do the same thing, man. Ovince St. Preux is a very crafty grappler that, you know, he's very smart in there, man. You know, high fighter IQ. This guy can pull off tricky submissions, and he knows what he's doing. He's very patient in there. And OSP might be a bad matchup for Alonzo Menifield. If Alonzo Menifield doesn't get that early knockout, I think it's going to be a tough night for him. And he's still coming in as the favorite. You know, I don't know, man. I'm going to take OSP here, I think. I'm going to take OSP. You see, this was the fight we were talking about, Devin Clark and Alonzo Menifield, where he took him to deep waters. OSP, OSP is just a solid dude. OSP just went up to heavyweight, and he took on Ben Rothwell, right? He lost that split decision loss. It was crafty in there. Other than that, though, he had a big win against Michelle Olisejczak, a guy that had a lot of hype. But, he's not really out there winning too many fights, but he's fighting some big names. I think I'm going to pick him over Alonzo Menifield. I think I'm going to pick the more crafty veteran. Even though he's a slight dog, it's pretty much a pick him at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if OSP is the favorite by the time the fight starts. And it's a close fight. I'm going to lean OSP, I think, as of right now. If anything changes, you'll see it on my Instagram. And OSP will be my pick. All right, we made it to the main event. I'm going to wake up for this breakdown here for you guys. We got Frankie. The Answer, Edgar, taking on Pedro Munhoz. Pedro Munhoz, first and foremost, I want to let you guys know, is an amazing dude. I was lucky enough to chill with him over at Bare Knuckle FC, man. I watched the main event with him. We were jumping up and down, man. I was with Gleison Tebow. We were getting crazy over there. There's Gleison too, man. These guys are good people, man. Legit good people. I'm talking about, just chilling, man, just enjoying the fights, acting like they're just regular people, man. I think they were drinking some beers too. They had some beers in their hands. They were having a good time. This was a long time ago, so I don't think, Pedro's drinking beer before this upcoming fight. Make sure you guys go check me out on Instagram, MMA Fortune Teller _ You guys go check me out over there. I'm creeping up from that 10K. That's what I'm coming for. But back to Munhoz. If you guys are ever rooting for a fighter that's a genuinely good guy, Pedro Munhoz is your guy, bro. I'm telling you right now. If you want to root for the good guy, I know Frankie Edgar's a legend as well. He's been around forever. He's a cool dude. But Pedro Munhoz is just one of the boys. I really truly believe that. This guy, he doesn't think that he's better than anybody, or he doesn't think that he's like a star or anything like that. He's just one of the boys. I guarantee you, if you see him, he misses the first one. Boom. Gets the second one. I guarantee you, if you see this guy out in public, man, he'll be super friendly to you, man, and he's a good dude. An underrated fighter, in my opinion. I think this guy is legit. I've been banking on him, making money on him from way back in the day. I'll pull up some fights that I made some money on him and some underdog spots, because I've been high on this guy from way back in the day. Took him over Rob Font. He was a dog there, which in retrospect, Rob Font's legit too, but I was high on him there. Took him over Brett John's big. Brian Caraway, made money against him. I've made some money on him. I really have throughout my days. Frankie Edgar, I've made some money on him too. Obviously, Frankie's been around the way forever. But Frankie just doesn't have it anymore, in my opinion, man. I really don't. I don't know, man. Coming off all these losses, his chin's always questionable. We saw what Ortega was able to do to him, hurt him on the feet. Ortega is a guy that was a human body punching bag for Max Holloway, and all of a sudden he's out there, sleeping Edgar like he's a kickboxing champion. Edgar's been around the way forever, man. The big title fights, he's been fighting for so long. I do like that he's fighting in this weight class and whatnot. It's more of his natural weight class. But I think Pedro Munhoz is going to be the younger, fresher, stronger fighter, more talented on the feet, has a nasty guillotine. Pedro Munhoz has one of the nastiest guillotines in the game. And, maybe the only way Frankie Edgar could win this fight, in my opinion, is if he's really able to mix it up and he avoids that big shot, and he can mix up some takedowns, with this little in and out type of striking, avoid that submissions from Pedro Munhoz, and maybe he can win a decision. But I just don't see it. Both these guys 5'6". Frankie Edgar coming in with a big reach advantage, though, 7-inch reach advantage. So like I was saying, stay on the outside, a little bit of striking in and out, maybe working some wrestling, and maybe take a decision. You can get Frankie Edgar over just about a 2-to-1 underdog, 2-to-1 odds. If you like him, you're getting good value. I like Pedro Munhoz here, though, man. Pedro Munhoz, the young Punisher. In my opinion, this guy is the real deal, and I expect some big things from him after this victory. Moving forward, he's going to keep cleaning up his game. 33 years old, he's in the prime of his career. Frankie Edgar is almost 39 years old. you know, in the lower weight divisions. You know, it's not always a good thing. It's not like the heavyweight division. And I'm gonna go with Pedro Munhoz in the main event. All right, boys, that wraps up the show. Sorry, I know this wasn't the best breakdown, man, and I know this card's not really the best card, but let's just enjoy it for what it is and let's make some money on it. That's the whole point to these fight cards. You know, fight cards like this. You know, I mean, if you have some fighters in the card that you're a fan of and you really want to watch fight, then, you know, good for you. But this is a fight card that doesn't have the biggest of names, but I do see some spots to make some money. I made some good money this past weekend. The teller's coming off a very profitable card. I expect it to be another profitable card. I'm going to start stringing off those profitable events. Let's try to beat my record. I think my record was like 13 events in a row, and that's what we're going to start doing now. We're going to keep the ball rolling. And if you guys are interested in my plays, go reach out to me on Instagram, MMAFortuneTeller_. Shoot me a DM. You can also email me at MMAFortuneTeller@gmail.com. I'm on Twitter at the MMA Teller, barely on there. Like I always say, I'll try to get more on the Twitter over there. And that's pretty much it, man. This Thursday, man, I got a solid fighter. Stay tuned. I will announce that very soon on my Instagram. I'll post that. I got a cool fighter who's coming off a big victory, a nice big victory that he just had a couple weeks ago, not long ago at all. So stay tuned. I'll announce that. And other than that, that's pretty much it. I'll do that Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'll have the fight companion going again next Saturday. Appreciate everybody that showed up for the fight companion this past Saturday. Man, we had a nice show, man. The room was filled up. A lot of views on that, and I appreciate all you guys. And yeah, let's keep the profitable events going, man. I appreciate all you guys. Signing out, the Teller.
The MMA Fortune Teller.
The Teller. The Teller. The Teller. The Teller.